50 years after his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech, and many in South Africa have still not forgotten Martin Luther King's solidarity and support for freedom in their country, as well as his courageous fight for equality in the United States and beyond. Recently, a play opened in Johannesburg showing King in his motel room on the night before he was assassinated in 1968. Called The Mountaintop, it depicts King as a vulnerable, chain-smoking man who is fearful of death. And the play drew huge audiences.
We've been running around smoking palmos. Impressive.
A lot of people do remember him as much as they do Malcolm X, as much as they do Steve Biko, Robert Sobukwe. You know, I think he definitely has a place in our heritage and in our hearts.
We do remember this speech by Dr. King because it resonates from then to now, and we tend to think of it as one of the great sermons and speeches of the 20th century.
Many here have compared King's civil rights struggle in the United States with South Africa's struggle for freedom and democracy. They say the moral message of "I Have a Dream" is still relevant to South Africa.
100 years later,
the country has achieved political freedom, but is still struggling with poverty, poor services such as housing, health and education, unemployment and inequality. And black people still suffer the worst of these problems.
The notion of economic freedom, the notion of standing tall for yourself and for what you believe in, the notion that the simplest thing, and which is the hardest thing for us to do, is to love one another. He's relevant for me also. The peaceful resistance for me is key.
It is important to remember that when Nelson Mandela went to the United States to speak to a joint session of the Congress after he was released from prison, who did he choose to quote? He stood in front of the United States Congress and said, free at last, thank God Almighty, I am free at last."
As people celebrate King's life and legacy at marches and monuments around the world this week, he's also being remembered by ordinary people, such as street painter Shepherd Michuma.
The reason why I painted Martin Luther King is because he is a hero of many people all over the world. In America, they love him. All over the world, they love him. And we in South Africa, he's one of our heroes. He motivated most people, especially the black community. And today we are celebrating him.
Rene, Carme, CCTV, Johannesburg.